So, a very good evening to everyone. Welcome to AKS IAS Academy, Hyderabad. So, students, today is our general current affairs class. What I have done basically is that I have divided my class into three parts. The first part, I will call it as general current affairs class. The second I would do is editorials, which will be another different video altogether. Okay, and the third one would be science and tech, health and environment. Okay, so we will do three separate videos for each of this. The reason is to try to cover everything that comes in current affairs so that you need not have to basically look at somewhere else. So today we will look at the general current affairs that are appearing in paper. Okay, see, the whole idea of the current affairs is to, first of all, to understand how you will basically see that how UPSC will take it from the point of view for its exam. In the sense, Anagaru, please listen. We want to understand what kind of questions will be asked from this particular topic in mains as well as prelims. That's the whole idea of bringing you current affairs. Okay, and that's how it should be studied, and it should be divided subject wise: paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4. Anything that comes about paper 1 like geography or something about history should go to paper 1 book. Anything that comes on paper 2 should go to paper 2 book, like polity, governance, policies, programs. Anything or IR, anything that comes in paper 3 like economic, science and tech, disaster, environment should go to paper 3. Anything that comes on 4, that is ethics, that is corruption, etc., should go to paper 4. Okay, so let's start our today's general current affairs class. We'll understand each topic in the way the UPSC tried to ask you. Today we look at three topics here. One will be the Supreme Court upheld the rights of Travancore family. Okay, that's very, very important. Then we will also look into IMG approved model concession agreement. And the third topic for the day will be how Iran has dropped India from Chabhar rail project. So should we start? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's start. Let's start. So the topic for today is that Supreme Court has upheld. You see the word upheld. That means they have upheld the rights of Travancore royal family diversity. What do you mean by that? This temple that you see here, right? This is Padmanabha Swami temple in Thiruvananthapuram. Okay. So what Supreme Court did was, there was a Kerala High Court judgment against the family of maintaining this temple. This temple came to light after its massive treasures were discovered. The treasure were worth in terms of trillions. So the case went to High Court that who will manage this temple. High Court favored in favor of government of Kerala. Then the family went to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court indirectly and directly upheld the right of Travancore royal family to manage the property of Sri Padmanabha Swami temple in Thiruvananthapuram. What is this whole issue about? Well, Supreme Court has upheld the Shebaith rights. Shebaith rights. What do you mean the Shebaith rights? A Shebaith is a person who basically manages and maintains the main deity. Shebayat is a person who manages and maintains the main deity, and as per the customary law, the right to manage the financial affairs of the deity, that is called Shebayat rights, survives with a member of the family even after the death of the last ruler. The last ruler died way back in 1970, right? And there was always a question that who will maintain the, the, the temple. There was a legal battle going on between the Kerala government and versus the royal family, and now the royal family has won the case. And this also completely ends the legal battle between the Kerala government and basically the temple, the royal family. Now, if you look at from the historical point of view, we need to understand that this particular temple, right, and all the temples were under the control of Travancore and Kochir Devaswam Board before 1947. Before 1947, all the temples were under control of this particular temple authority. Then there was an instrument of accession signed between the princely states and the government of India, which vested the trust, that which vested the powers to maintain the temple in the trust maintained by the royal family. Then what happened? State of Kerala was carved out in 1956. All the temple came under the Kerala government, but there was a legal battle going on that who will maintain the financial affairs of this particular temple. Another very important part when you talk about the history of such issues is a very important, law or a legal privilege called privy purses. This privy purses was an instrument as a kind of legal, you can say, advantage given to the princely states before independence. Most of the princely states joined Indian, territory, became a part of Indian Union because they were promised for this privy purse, which gives a lot of privileges, right, to the princely and the princely states. This particular privilege was removed in 1971 by Indira Gandhi government. In 1971, Indira Gandhi madam, full boycott hairs, bishum bishum, iron lady, roti kapda makan, all that, right? So she basically, as a part of 26 Constitutional Amendment Act, removed all the entitlements and the privileges enjoyed by the erstwhile rulers. There were a lot of privileges given, that there won't be any state interference, temples will be maintained by them, property will be maintained by them. All these privileges were removed by Indira Gandhi government. Kerala High Court in 2011 directed the state to take over the temple, right? And that's why the legal battle, became very serious. Now, the right to maintain the temple and the main deity called Shebatship was always with the royal family, right? Although the ruler died, the Supreme Court says that the royal family has sacrificed a lot for the temple. They reconstructed the temple in 1700s, and they assumed Shebatship of the temple. So even after the death of the royal family king, the temple should be maintained by the royal family of Travancore. And the Supreme Court ruled that Shebatship does not lapse in the favor of state by the principle of escheat. Very, very important. Sir and ma'am, everyone, Anagaru, please, Chepu, escheat, principle of escheat, that is reversion of a property to the state. Tomorrow if they ask you which of the following statements are true, if they ask you a prelims question, okay, you should know about what is principle of escheat, the reversion of property to the state. So they say that the shebatship does not lapse in the favor of the state, right, even after the death of the king. Now the question comes, okay, will the temple and all the properties will go to the royal family? This is your Travancore royal family, very rich guys, no doubt about them. Supreme Court said no. The properties will not go to the royal families, right? They will maintain the temple, but there will also be an administrative committee with the Thiruvananthapuram district judge as the chairperson. There will be an administrative committee with the Thiruvananthapuram district judge as the chairperson. The other person would be the nominee of the trustee, that is royal family, the chief tantri or the chief priest, a nominee by the state, and a member nominated by Ministry of Culture, central government. So tomorrow again, if they ask you a prelims question here, right, does the property will go to royal family? No. There will be an administrative committee which will consist of the chairman as a district judge, then one member from royal family, one chief tantri, one nominee of the state, and one the member nominated by Ministry of Culture. Another thing, everyone knew that the trillions of worth of treasure were discovered in this temple when the walls were open up. One wall which was not open up was called Kalara B. This wall. The family did not allow this wall to be open, looking at the symbols that were there, thinking that something bad will happen. So this particular vault was not open. So Supreme Court said, okay, there will be a second committee to be constituted for all the administrative and the policy matters. Okay, and this committee will look into the treasure, the maintenance, and everything with respect to the property of the temple. Supreme Court also says that every year audit has to be done. Even the past 25 years audit has to be done and should be submitted to the state, regularly. Right? This was the rule. This was the ruling of the Supreme Court with respect to the Padmanabha Baba Swami temple. I hope you are clear. Please remember the keywords. I will repeat. One is the royal family of Travancore, the Padmanabha Swami temple, the Privacy Purse 1971, the shebatship, right, and two committees, one to look over the daily issues, one to decide on the treasure and the policy matters. If you remember these many keywords, it would suffice you to tackle this topic in the examination. I hope I'm clear. The second general current affairs topic for the day is IMG approved model concession agreement. Model concession agreement. Now, what is this model concession agreement? This model concession agreement is used for build, operate, and transfer model. Let's see, you are constructing, L&T is constructing highway. So L&T will build the highway, will operate for few years, and then will transfer that particular highway to the government. So that's why that is what we call build, operate, and transfer. Build, operate, and transfer. Why it was revised? See, the whole idea of the government was to boost the manufacturing and the construction sector, right? And to do that, they planned and made some changes in this particular model. See, there is PPP model, public private partnership model. Same way there is a BOT model, build, operate, and transfer model. What were the changes made? Three main aspects of the changes. One is that revenue assessment will be done every 5 years. Before, the revenue assessment was done every 10 years. Now what has happened, because traffic is increasing very fast and this highway construction companies are making huge amount of money. So government said they will revise the revenue every 5 years. Work order will be given only if the 90% of the land is acquired. For any road, highway construction, the work order will be given only when the 90% of the land is acquired. And third, there will be a dispute resolution board with an engineer heading it who will be from outside. This is for any dispute arising about revenue or land or anything between the government versus the private player. Okay, so three main things. Revenue assessment will be done every 5 years. Work order only if the 90% of the land is acquired, and provision for dispute resolution board. Now, what does the road developer say in this? Road developer says that this is inadequate solution. First of all, they say that starting a greenfield project in this present condition is very difficult. What do you mean by greenfield project? The project that you start from zero, from the beginning. Brownfield means the project is already there, you are just trying to modify it. Whereas greenfield means the project is start from zero. So road developer says that first of all, in this present condition, greenfield projects have become impossible, and now this particular revision provisions are completely inadequate. Government also have started this initiative called National Infrastructure Pipeline, in short called NIP. Under this National Infrastructure Pipeline, government wants to build a road line of 67,000 kilometers at the cost of around 2 lakh crore. And the government also says that private player has to bring at least 22% of the overall cost. Rest they will try to get funded or the government will help, but 22% of the overall cost has to be brought by private players for the construction of this big highways. Now, the third and the last topic for the day, Iran has recently dropped India from Chabhar rail project, right? 4 years after India and Iran signed this agreement, Iran has officially dropped India from this particular project, citing funding delays. Now, what is this Chabhar project? See, it starts from Chabhar port in Iran, okay, and then it passes through Zahedan, and then Zarang, and then Delaram in Afghanistan. This was a trilateral agreement. Later, Afghanistan also joined it, so it became a part of India, Iran, Afghanistan, or for you remember, India, Afghanistan, Iran. Now, this project was supposed to be funded and constructed by Indian Railway Construction Limited. It's an Indian Railways company which was started for such kind of projects. Now, waiting for such a long time after 4 years, Iran has officially dropped India from this project. Now, students, the question comes, why do we have to drop it? And why is this particular project was such an important thing? If you look at India, the problem with India is that it cannot pass through Pakistan for its trade route. Obviously, there will be issue. It cannot go through this route also. It cannot go through this from the China. So the only way for India to connect to the Middle East and the West Asia was to get connected with Iran. Now, once you take your ships and put it here in Gulf of Oman, once you take your ships, bypass the Pakistan and put your ships here, you would be able to trade with the whole West Asia and the whole Central Asia. You could even connect to the European countries. This was a major drawback for India. Neither we could go like this because it's a very long route. We could not go from China side. China won't allow. We cannot go from Pakistan side because of the geopolitical issues. The only advantage was to build up help Iran to build up a port here and then utilize this port for its trade and commerce. We could have reached the entire Europe and the Central Asia, and now because of the funding delays, Iran has officially dropped India from this particular project. It's a big loss for India because the project would have boosted our export and help our reduce our import money. See, these countries like Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan and all, they would require India's exports because they are still not that developed country. Now we lost that opportunity to trade with this. So in such kind of question, you should always remember the maps for the prelims, right? Where is Gulf of Oman? Where is Chabhar port? Which are the cities that are a part of this particular project, right? Where it touches Afghanistan and where it passes in Arabian Sea. Are we clear, everyone? Great. So this is for today. Please also watch my editorial video class where I'll be covering 3 editorials every day in detail from prelims, mains, and interview perspective. Also watch Science and Tech, Health and Environment where I'll cover current science and tech, health and environment issues that are appearing in paper on the weekly basis. Okay. Do let me know for every review. Have a nice day. Stay safe. Goodbye. Take care.